I have a problem with the Assassin's Creed set. I mean, I'm just upset as a constructed player that the infestation of Commander design has changed the way that I play my constructed formats. How these formats are starting to bleed into each other, not only by legality and design and mana cost, but also just in terms of the physical words Commander being printed into my constructed cards. The cross is too much at this point, and I think we're just reaching into this everything soup where all cards not only do everything, they're legal in every format because we must cater to everybody. And I think this is where my frustration and many others' frustrations with the Assassin's Creed Universes Beyond set is. And look, we're going to approach it from all different angles here. I want to talk about it from a design perspective, from a color identity perspective, and also referencing some quotes directly from Mark Rosewater in a recent article he wrote around the Assassin's Creed set. So if you want to see more content like this, if you want me to talk about maybe some of the cards that are great for Modern straight out of this set, I'm happy to do so. But first, let me air out my grievances. And this really all starts from an article by Mark Rosewater called Creed is Good. And this is going to be linked down below. I'm going to put up the specific quote that I want on screen right now that says, "The set was mostly playtested in Commander. It was playtesting. It was this playtesting that convinced Corey of Commanders needing it to be part of free running. But there were Modern consultants that took a pass at this set. When I interviewed Corey for this article, he told me the story of how he convinced the consultants who came in to work on Modern Horizons 3 to look at Assassin's Creed." Look, there's so many problems with it. This is a straight to Modern set that was primarily playtested for Commander. Why is no one talking about this? This is insane. Right, this is essential. This is almost, in my opinion, this is almost the equivalent of telling me that Modern Horizons 3 is just a Commander set. It is just the second coming of Commander Masters. It's almost as if Commander Masters could have sold more if it was just called Modern Masters. But Modern Masters failed as a product name, and so they couldn't bring that back. They brought back Modern Horizons as the second coming of that. They just said, folks don't want reprints. They just want to play with new cards so that folks can buy these sets, purchase new cards, and enter the format. But what's even better is that Universes Beyond, not a lot of people bought the Fallout sets or maybe the Doctor Who sets. How do we get those people involved? Because those were just Commander decks. What about the Warhammer decks? What if we made them straight to Modern? What if we made a Commander set that was straight to Modern? With so many of the key pieces in this set, so many of the creatures themselves being legendary, it almost just feels like it's just a Legend Tribals like set, right? Like it just feels like there's so many ways that the Commander has inputted itself into this, and I think it's really accentuated, or really just put on blast, I should say. My wording's awful here. By Viewpoint Synchronization, green and 4 for a sorcery with free running, green and 2. You may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or a commander. Search your library for up to 3 basic land cards and reveal them. Put 2 of them onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. So this is essentially like Cultivate Plus. If you're able to get it for its free running cost, you're able to kind of ramp out for 2 tapped and keep 1 in your hand for a land drop the turn after. And what's nice about it is that it is still basic lands, right? It's not completely busted where you just get any 3 lands if you cast it for its free running cost. But I think this is where this is frustrating for me, and I'm really, this is coming from a tweet again off of Saffron Olive here, where he talks about how, what makes Commander great traditionally is that it's home for oddball cards, for cast-off cards that were printed for Standard but often weren't quite efficient, or a bit too expensive, or died to Doomblade too often to see play. And I think that's what one of the magical pieces of Commander was that's been lost over time. It's been the homogenization of the format through websites like EDHREC and cards that just do everything. So from a design perspective and the tools that the players have access to, it's created an environment where deck building is no longer a skill. Deck building is just, oh yeah, wait, that card just also does the same ability but draws a card, so I'll just play that. And then that ability also exists in every single color, and the downside of it existing in one color versus the other is so negligible that, especially with the variety of commanders out there and the variety of synergies, the downside just ends up being an upside. Everything is essentially Death Shadow, where losing life, losing abilities, or gaining whatever is it's always an upside if you build it right, and there always is an ability to build it right. Now, the next part of the tweet is free running for assassins makes a lot of sense. If you build an assassin deck, you get these powerful, unique cards that no one else can play. Having free running working with commanders potentially gives them a home in non-assassin decks. And I think this is the key here. This is where we talk about how everything does everything, right? Free running should have just been a part of an assassin deck, just like how, you know, other cards we don't see gaining necessarily a lot of synergy off of energy, a lot of synergy off of other set specific mechanics, but all of a sudden free running, which is supposed to be an Assassin's Creed specific ability, now has a lot of viability in other commanders. So now a lot of folks have to pay attention to this. It's not just about the modern players or the Assassin's Creed likers, but it's also the commander players, because now when a commander does damage, this card also has a lot of playability there. Right? And so this might sound like a positive, but it's not. Commander is a 100 card singleton format for a reason, to increase variance by forcing you to play as many different cards as possible while being able to shuffle your deck. And I think this is also another key thing that gets lost over time with the influx and rise in popularity of CEDH. We see a lot of tutors and soft tutors and a lot of consistency pieces, a lot more cards these days that honestly say, you know, you can play as many copies of this card as you want. There's a card like that in this set, a literal like white card that says you can play as many copies as you want, and allows you to tutor up different things, like allowing you to increase consistency in a 100 card format that's not supposed to necessarily allow that, right? The original designers of Commander didn't really want fetch lands to work the way that they did. They didn't want demonic tutors in there, and that really is how traditional Commander is played for the wide majority of casuals. I am a fault of this as well. I play a lot of tutors in my deck as well, but that doesn't mean that I feel bad when I play them. I understand the consistency that they provide, but when you play at higher power tables or when you play CEDH, you have to have consistency. That's the whole point of the deck at those levels, because all you want to do is win. Cards that go into every deck diminish the variance that makes Commander fun. The more these cards Wizards prints, the more a Commander moves away from its foundation as the format where you can play whatever cast off cards you love, and less fun it becomes for players. As Wizards pushes harder and harder to monetize Commander, the format has went from a format built around cards unwanted for 60 card constructed format, whose primary purpose was sell cards and designed specifically for it, and now it's become, you know, way past that. It's not just about the unwanted cards. Oh, that's a commander card, it costs too much, or that's a commander ability, it says each player, or whatever, right? It's gone past that, where the each player effects now are just a way to get around hexproof. It's now a specific design principle that works for Commander, right? It's not dead on me that cards that are played in Modern Mill right now, like Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Fractured Sanity, aren't necessarily made for Modern. Those are Commander specific designs, because you want value in each commander. It gives you options that affect each player, because especially in the mill archetype in Commander, it's very hard to mill out a certain player and not all of a sudden become the arch enemy of the table. And so when you have effects that say each player, it's no longer just getting around the whole target thing with like Veil of Summers and other protection effects like the One Ring in the Modern format. Now it also provides that purpose as a design plus for the Commander format. All decks start to look the same as players add one designed to be a Commander staple card to their deck after another, month by month, year after year. It's massively profitable for Wizards, and as far as I can tell, it's also slowly ripping the heart of the format. Free running in specifically rubs me the wrong way, because it could so obviously exist without applying the commanders. 100% true. Working only with assassins makes it better for a better format and play experience. The only reason I can see it tack on to Commander is to sell more packs. And I mean, like, really, that's where I'll kind of stop the kind of tweet reading here. There's two more tweets after that, and I'll link the whole thing down below. But I think this is really a good summation of where the Commander design is going for our formats and how frustrating this can be. I mean, like, it's very clear that Wizards of the Coast wants to maximize the way that they sell packs, and is therefore now affecting card design. They've kind of reached almost their potentiality of the products that they can throw at you at a certain amount of time. I mean, we just had Modern Horizons 3 just be legal for a week, folks pre-ordering, just getting their orders into their Commander decks, just being able to play their Modern decks. I mean, the rental service on Magic Online, for only a couple days, we're giving access to the public. Then, you know, you had day one if you're at a certain tier. For certain folks, if you're like me, as a content creator that's on the MTGO creator program, you had day one access as well. But for a lot of people, they're just getting access, and then all of a sudden, a couple days later, Assassin's Creed preview started. So it's like they've already maximized the product fatigue that they have, and now they have to include it in design by making you buy even more products. They can't force more products down your throat, but if they make you want them, then the FOMO is going to hit you there. I mean, take a look at this tweet from Shivam that says, you know, just notice that this has a black pip in its disguise cost for no apparent reason other for color identity. I really wish WotC wouldn't keep doing stuff like this. So for Aveline de Grand Prairie, or however you pronounce it, I'm not here to pronounce it right, but the legendary creature, its disguise cost has black and green in it. This could have just been a mono green commander, but you're clearly throwing away its constructed playability for commander playability. I mean, in constructed, this is a 4-mana 3/3. It's probably not getting played as a commander. It's probably a really good death touch commander, just because of the 1/1 counters and, you know, kind of death touch and like all that stuff, right? So it's a pretty good death touch commander. But other than that, like, it's really annoying to see these type of cards out there. I mean, it feels like more and more of these Universes Beyond sets are just like Tome of Legends. If some of y'all remember this card, 2-mana Tome of Legends is an artifact that specifically references commander in a standard legal set. This was originally printed in Throne of Eldraine, added to the list, and then reprinted in Murders of Karlov Manor. It says whenever your commander enters the battlefield or attacks, put a page counter on Tome of Legends. Right, and then it enters with a page counter on it. So you can use it in standard because you can then tap and remove page counter, draw card, but its real playability is in commander. But this was a standard legal set. It's even worse if you think about it, right? Like, this was a straight to modern set out of Universes Beyond, and now the availability of the set is in question and all that stuff. But this was a standard legal set. We're printing commander staples referencing direct commander in standard, right? And this was like years ago. I mean, we had it recently with Murders of Karlov Manor. It's crazy to me that we've now homogenized all formats. It feels like there's no separation anymore. It's one thing to have a bunch of legendaries and products designed around a set, but we could still have the cards we wanted that are only modern legal. But now the commander design is seeping into modern legal cards and making them not only worse for the commander format, just increasing homogeneity across all cards and abilities, but also just affecting its design, right? Like, it's adding to the amount of text in the card. It's adding to the way it's designed, because now it's probably higher costed now that, like, it can affect any commander and it's for the commander format, right? Like, the design philosophy changes if the card is playable in commander and play tested by commander. But I think that's my frustration. That's me airing it all out. Like, I don't know what the solution is. It's just the direction we're going. And it's really frustrating to see so many examples of how we can be held back as constructed players just for the happiness of the casual, the kitchen table player, the commander player, the spell table lovers. I don't know, whatever you want to call them. Okay, no hate to spell table, by the way. Love the software, but I'm just airing out my frustration, okay? I say this as a commander player, as someone who owns like 5 commander decks right now and building a Ulalek colorless commander deck soon. I as a commander player, I'm frustrated with this, right? I want deck building to come back. I don't want every deck to be able to do everything, right? I want my constructed format to be separate from my commander format. I like the idea that some forgotten some forgotten cards that no one wanted to play in constructed are absolutely insane in commander. And that some cards, you know, maybe like Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring, like, you get stuff like that that's insane in commander as well. But I don't want that to be every card.